Hey, Doxig here. We're going to talk about cations, how to name them, new and old rules. Alright, so let's remember what a cation is. It's a positively charged ion that forms when a metal loses an electron. Study tip, you got to know where your metals are. Non-metals, metalloids, on your periodic table. Also know the charges of the cations. And we went over this in one of the videos called Ionic Group Charges on the periodic trend, so you can reference back to that as well. Alright, so let's go with the older naming first. Okay, this is limited use, really. Don't see it much, but you gotta know it. Alright, so we use suffixes to indicate the magnitude of charges. The OUS is going to indicate fewer positive charges, where the IC is more positive charges. So Fe2 plus, ferrous ion, okay, so that'd be fewer positive charges, versus Fe3 plus, ferric ion, so more positive charges. And I'll show you more in a table to come. Now let's move on to the more common use system, which we call the stock or systematic naming, and we'll look at the rules there. First off, we're going to use Roman numerals only when we have multivalent species. Okay, so what does that mean? We'll look at the ferric and ferrous that I referenced before, Fe2 plus, Fe3 plus. Yeah, that's an element with multiple charges. So multivalent means multiple charges, multiple valent electronic charges. And so we have to be able to figure out which charge we're going to be using. So the Roman numerals are going to tell us that. When you name these, we're not changing the elemental name. The element name is the element name. And then we're not going to put spaces between the element name and the parentheses that are going to have the Roman numeral in it. So here are some examples. Copper plus would be copper 1 ion. No space between the copper and the 1. Copper 2 ion. Titanium 2 plus, titanium 2 ion. Titanium 3 plus, titanium 3 ion. Titanium 4 ion. Alright, and I did put a picture over there of the charge and the Roman numeral. Mostly we use Roman numeral 1 through 4. Barely DRC 5, 6, 7, 8, but I include them anyways. Alright, so the ones watching football, this is where it comes into play, right? It helps you out there. So here's some of the elements, the cation, the stock systematic naming, and the older naming all together for you. Chromium, Cr2 plus, chromium 2 ion, older name, chromius ion. Cr3 plus, chromium 3 ion, or chromic ion. Again, the OUS is the fewer positive charges, the IC is the more positive charges. Cobalt, you see I have the stock system naming right. Cobaltous ion, cobaltic ion, that's the older naming, you don't really see that much. Every now and then with the copper, Cu plus, copper 1 ion, cuprous ion. Cu2 plus, copper 2 ion, cupric ion, you do see that one. We got the leads, right, the older naming, plumbous ion, plumic ion. And there is an asterisk for the mercury right there. Yeah, mercury 1 does exist as a pair, so don't be thrown off by that. That's why that's indicated there. So mercury 1 ion, stannous ion, mercury 2 ion, stannic ion. Just include there so you can see the compare and the contrast between the two naming systems. So again, the stock, the systematic naming, that's the one we use more common, but you do come across the older naming here and there. Okay, the last thing I have to include, right? We did talk about multivalent ions. But here's the deal. If the charge is known, you don't use the Roman numeral. It's incorrect. Okay, so again, when I said know where your metals, non-metals, and metalloids are, that's going to be key. Because if you know group 1 plus 1 charge, you don't use Roman numeral. Group 2 plus 2 charge, you don't use the Roman numeral. Okay, and again, if you haven't noticed, cations, they're the metal, they lose the ion. So again, knowing the metals, where that is, that really will save you. Alright, so to wrap this all up, the biggest question I get, how will I know what charge to use? Alright, easy. 1, it'll literally be given in the name, iron 3 chloride. And we're going to make a video where we name ionic compounds, not a worry, that's coming. The other thing is the charge is housed in the ionic compound. So if I have FeCl3, right, I unwrap that, bring the charges back up. We'll go through this in the video in more detail. We know Cl has a -1. So that means that 3 came from the iron. So that's the iron 3 chloride. So you're never going to be pulling these out of a hat. They're going to be either given to you one way or the other. Alright, so that's it. Cations, how to name them, new versus old method. See you next video.